Dodgers, F gets Atlanta missing out, so I need to live vicariously through the Jays. Team Ballcat Nation. Thank you, Joshua. Yeah, Chris Getz is screwing the pooch. That's all we'll say about that. Some of you don't want to hear about that. Some of you do. But yeah, Chris Getz, I think Chris Getz might be messing things up. All right. We have the latest tweet from Michael Moreno. That really is the latest thing. Let's see here. If I was going to buy on StubHub tickets to the Toronto Blue Jays opening day.
Okay, so I can enter this studio. Let me see if I can make this work. My computer is just ancient, but I'm working on getting everything. I'm working on getting everything up to date. I had to buy a new phone yesterday. My previous phone was old. Plus, I was so frustrated with this computer, I slammed it down and I broke the glass. And for 3 or 4 weeks, I've been using it, but it's totally unusable and it hurt I was nervous about my fingers. So anyway, let's see if I can get in with my other computer. I don't know if I can. I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it here. I mean, I'll just leave it here. It's coming up, but if it's working, I'll leave it here. Oh, I gotta mute it. Or I'll leave studio. Let's just see. The mic won't be set up, so hopefully you can hear Ham when we get it connected. Yeah, it's probably that they're trying to get clear of it. Hey, lucky boy. It's probably that they're trying to get clear of it. But I think, Red Pepper Ronnie, I think Royal Bank of RBC, which is, well, anyway, I think it used to be Dane Rauscher. I don't know if it still is Dane Rauscher. Let me see if I can get that microphone out of the way. I guess I can't. I guess my mic is just going to be there. All right. I've got to keep it close so when we talk to him, you can hear him. Let me see if I can get him on the phone. Yeah, hang on. I got to get the voice connected with the audience. All right.
Hold on to get my people. Hold on.
Anyway, Royal Bank used to be RBC Dane Rauscher. I don't know if it still is, but I think that's good for you. I wouldn't.
My friends used to work at that place, Rauscher Pierce.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Anyway, this is not to buy or sell. This is our opinions, and this is what we hear. We're just giving you our opinions and updates on security fraud and what we hear about two companies we follow. And let me just go off on this one to start with. For those who don't know, we were in D.C. at the SEC Enforcement Conference, handing out information, providing a truck in front of the SEC Enforcement. And one of my guys was approached by a shareholder, and the shareholder I'm hearing has reached out to GTII and has presented a big deal to the company. I don't know what the deal is, but my friend who met this guy, I won't give you his name, he reached out to GTII and I'm told that he's presented an idea to the company. I don't know what it is, but this is coming from my guy who met him in DC. All right, he's a shareholder. He owns a lot of stock, and I don't know the gentleman. I never met him, but that's what I'm hearing. So again, there's things happening behind the scenes. Again, I don't know when it happens, and there's people doing things. But anyway, The GTI volume here today, I had a friend just went to buy stock and they naked shorted it to him. I put the price that they sold it to him. He went to pay 46 and they sold it to him at the good old price of 0.4585. They wouldn't let him pay 46. All right. So again, they're still playing games. Again, it's, everyone sits there, oh, the volume. I don't know anybody selling. I usually hear somebody like, F you, I'm selling, I'm moving along or something. I don't hear any of that stuff. So again, it's just, I assume something was going on. And again, a shareholder, I'm sure he knows who he is, reached out to the company and presented some sort of major plan to them. I don't know what it is. So again, let's see what happens, comes out of that. But that's coming from a shareholder. All right. That's the second shareholder that has been introduced to the company and has some ideas. Whatever they are, they are. I don't know what they are. Again, what was that? I lost train of thought for a second. Finger motion, obviously 0.0 volume. All right. The only time they make a sale now is when you come in and try to buy it. So again, accumulation is the best way to play a stock like this. I can't predict what day it's going to go, but by the activity that I see, it's not much longer. The stock should start to turn up big, only because the selling is stopped and they're just stuck in the mud here doing nothing. They're just wasting their time. We traded 63,000 shares. The volume, the average 90-day volume has gone down from 1.2 million down to 846. All right, so you can see the drop every day. This light volume starts bringing down the average volume in the stock. And for those bozos who think that when you see the average volume and they say that the short interest is 2 million shares, well, based on the average volume of 900,000 shares, it should take so many days to cover. With no volume, this is what the stock should normally trading, 64,000, 70,000 shares. That's a normal stock trading day for the stock, not 900,000 shares a day. So when they say the shorts, it takes 20 days to cover or 10 days to cover, those numbers are completely false because it's based on a false volume number. Do you guys understand that? William, you understand that?
I'm a little slow.
All right. The volume is 846,000. The volume normal on the stock would probably be 100,000 shares. So right now we're still overboard by 700,000 shares. That extra volume is all counterfeit shares being sold into the marketplace. All right. This looks like a normal day here. So for people who say that the real short is 2 million shares. Okay. Let me see if I can text my friend if I get a real short number. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Real short. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I type with 3 thumbs. I'm sorry. I'm going to get the real short number. Anyway, the real short number, let's say it's 2 million, with the average volume of 846,000 a day, obviously to cover 2 million shares, it's going to not take, I don't know the exact breakdown, but it won't take 30 days. It'll take, 5 days with this volume. That's how they always post that on shortsqueeze.com. It's only this many days. Take away the fake volume, okay? It's going to take you 200 days to cover that stock. Do you understand? That's how it works, William.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
All right. So again, I know people buying GTII. I told you about a shareholder has reached out to the company. I don't know what he's selling or what plan he has, but there are things happening. There are always things happening, but this is a good one because it's our shareholder that reached out to my buddy who was in DC handing out flyers. He told me about the guy, so I didn't know him, and the guy got in touch with the company and he presented whatever he wanted to do. So we'll see what happens from the company side. All right. My friend said he had a great idea, but again, it's not my place to describe his idea. I don't know what it is, so I can't describe it. But we'll see what happens. But there are things going on. People just aren't sitting around wasting time here. So I assume something major is going to come, and I don't know when. That's just the way it is. And I believe the same thing's happening in finger motion. I think that there's major things happening in China. They didn't deal with Univest for shits and giggles, as William would say, right? Is that your old?
It's a UK expression.
That's from your old UK. That's your old stomping ground.
Yeah.
The only time I went to the UK was to go to Piccadilly Circus and go out to the Hippodrome. That's what I was there for. Other than that, I knew nothing about London. That Harrods, that's it. That's all I knew. And what's his name's Bunker.
Just go over to parts of what's Brooklyn when you go up the island, up that highway away from Brooklyn. It looks just like the UK. All the Indian takeaways and shops. I've been there, but I don't know New York very well. I guess it's Brooklyn, Upper Brooklyn, I guess.
I was staying in a hotel there. I think it was the Carlton. I can't remember, near Harrods.
Yeah, the Carlton Towers. That's near Harrods.
That's it, right? And
it's the only hotel with beds the size of North Americans.
Yeah, we had a big size.
It's the circular one, right? The circular one.
My friend stayed at a hotel near Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And all over the news, I had three broker friends that were with me, a couple of traders and brokers, and they all, individuals. And the news came on. I was in the hotel watching the news, and say Wall Street trader raped in Hyde Park. I looked at my friends. I said, "Which one was it? Who was it?" They all looked at me like, it's not me. But till this day, I know it had to be.
I can almost remember the name of that hotel. It's not coming to me, but I lived and my office was in Hyde Park, and that's it's actually a very Middle Eastern section of London. It's great. And then I lived over near the Carlton Towers too. So
that was a good area. But anyway, just getting back to our nonsense here. Who put it up? I think who put it up? Christina, maybe? Shawnee? Is that his name?
Well, who's that? Kristen Hennessy?
Hennessy, right, yes. She put up that the South Korean government, the officials, the retail investors own 50-something% of all stocks that are purchased in South Korea. And the government stood up to protect the investors.
50%.
Right, something.
I think it's less than 15% here, but somebody said I'm wrong. But it's just how you calculate it. If you include people buying ETFs and buying managed money as retail, then maybe it's higher. But I think in the United States it's very low, how retail participation now. And I read that somewhere. I'm not making it up.
I reposted it of the warehouse in Chicago when it was burning last winter in the snowstorm, and they were taking it away still on fire. And I posted that back for Tia. She wanted to see it, and I posted it back up there. The day-to-day investigation into Wall Street short sellers, the largest document storage facility, TD Ameritrade Bartlett Warehouse, went up in flames. They hauled away the evidence on fire. I mean, so again, I'd never seen that before, but they started taking away the stuff while it was on fire. All right. I reposted that for you guys can see. We are fighting a massive criminal, the biggest crime in American history. MULN, Frankie Nez did a great story about 5 billion shares in a legal scheme now confirmed. I mean, I don't know what Mullen was trading at back in the day. I have no idea. But these people made a ton of money trading that stuff.
Explain how it worked in MULN. What happened that you see?
What did I see?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't think people understand that when criminals come with a front like Jeff Easton smiling, the criminals are already selling the stock, and then the deal's signed, and that deal I think gets multiplied across broker dealers, and then the flooding of sales of counterfeit shares begins, and then you get a reverse split, And it's just a nightmare. You cannot sign these toxic convertible notes with tranches, with VWAPs, with backward-looking formulas, whether they're above market or not. Look at MMAT. That's headed to a penny. That's a great company.
Once you get them, it's that's what they do. You know, they just keep coming after you. I posted something I've been following. My friends have been buying the stock for 7 months. I knew nothing about it. The symbol's Peter, Robert, Tom, Tom. I haven't did a video on it. And the stock's been moving up. And they told me that they got, you know, whatever fundamentals they have, it's outstanding, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But they said over the last, you know, couple of months of buying, someone has actually shorted 1.4 million of this company below $1 or whatever it was, $1.25. So they're on the water, whatever it is. Very thinly traded stock. They just pop up. They just jump into any stock with a number. They don't even care what you do. So now the stock is gone. I wrote that, you know, stock breaking $1 looked good. I don't know. And here it is. It's almost breaking 2 now. And the volume's picking up, but yet these guys keep selling into it, whoever it is. So if they break them, the stock takes off. If not, the fundamentals of the company should maintain it at a certain level, whatever it may be. I don't know. But, you know, I put it up. Wolf, another name I've been following. I've been following for a long time, from 60 cents, ran to $4. Bitcoin went from 26 to 34, back down. Bitcoin's now 44,000, $10,000 higher, and the stock's $1.70. So either Bitcoin's got to go down or this stock has got to go up. But we know this stock is Yorkville, another naked short. The company's paid them off, but they're trapped.
So can you? Oh, sorry. I always guess where you're stopping, and I talked over you. Sorry.
Shoot, go.
Well, can you explain how shorts, if they're day trading or if they're putting a lot of thought in it, they got all these screens. Do they just sell stocks without even knowing what's involved with the stock? They see a stock
They have no idea. It's a number. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a pump. Every company's a pump and dump. That's all they look at it.
Yeah.
That's it. Listen, if you ever met the people on the other side of this coin, they're all buffoons. They're like the guy from White something research. I forget the name. White Rock Research, the guy from Puerto Rico with the dog.
Oh, that poodle, Poofta.
Right. They're the same type of people.
Diamond Research, something like that.
Right. My friend just told me the real short in finger motion is still 2.1 million. Now, if I was short 2.1 million at $6, where they were really laying into it at 5.5, why wouldn't you start buying it back down here? The company's not going out of business. They can't buy it back because once they start covering, they kill themselves. All right. The stock to me looks like it's ready to rip back up. There's no selling. They can't cover 2.1 million shares. They're paying money to borrow those shares. When this stock turns, it's going to have a quick rip. I can't tell you if it's going to 5 or 10. But again, it's getting long in the tooth. And I posted before, you know, I try to recap for everybody here as much as I can. It's a fact. The Secret Service is reviewing this stuff. It's a fact. Out of all the stocks out there, Finger Motion is on top of that pile. Because it's very easy to see the short and distort releases, the data, the real short going up and down, the relationship between the real short and the naked short. It's easy patterns to see, and we have laid it out perfectly for them. All right? And there are people who introduced me to the Secret Service that are shareholders, and they know they're coming. Okay? So this is an event that's going to basically shake up the whole system because these guys are not here for civil fines. They're here to lock up counterfeiters. Okay? And once they could put it together legally, I'm sure that people are going to start getting arrested on this stuff. All right? Because it's too big. This isn't a guy with a bag of 20s. These guys are stealing $1 billion at a clip. You know, if Mullen, I don't know the price of Mullen, where it came down from. I don't know if it was a $20 stock or $30.
Well, they had a reverse split, didn't they?
But go back in time. I don't know where it was 3 years ago. I have no idea where it started. Obviously, it probably was a $30 stock or $20. I don't know. Could have been a $70 stock. I have no idea. But when they drive it down, these guys stole billions, not millions, billions. Destroyed the whole company. His chance of succeeding in what he's doing. I heard his battery technology from a big holder, MULN, is outstanding, and that BMW was looking at it, right? Their battery technology. And they even said Elon Musk was in contact with that CEO. So again, I know nothing about the company or what people tell me. Again, I'm not invested in it, but just look at it. If its technology is that good, eventually someone's going to grab it. You know, it just gets, you know, he's cleaning it up by reversing it, making it smaller and smaller from all the flooding of shares to stay alive. But that's the normal short, distort, reverse, kill. That's what they do. So anyway, go ahead, William. I forgot you guys said.
Someone was saying MULN was $4.30. So I don't know. There's 10 questions, a dozen questions. The first one in order. Do you think there's any silver lining in GTII? This gentleman's getting kind of worried.
Well, I just gave you from something we hear outside that a shareholder has presented to the company a major, you know, acquisition, something. He's got it going on. He was at the SEC enforcement conference, and he met my buddy there, and my buddy, you know, told him to reach out to the company, and he has. So he told my buddy that. So again, okay. I don't know what it is, or I'm not at liberty. I don't want to tell you what I heard, but that's not my business. I don't know if it's true or not, but things are happening. That's something that we hear on our side, right? I can't speak for the company. If I was the company, I'd be speaking every day because, you know, you're fighting for your life. I don't get it, but it's not my company. I can't do anything for us. I will tell you that the short is here. There's the long that is buying it at 46 cents. And the offer is 4699. When you see the odd numbers, like 46 cents is a real number. 469999 is a fake number. That is the naked shorts. They stick out like a sore thumb. You can see them actually here shorting it. All right. So it's like, you know, I understand you're getting panicky. I got it. Like believe me, we're all in these things.
One of your listeners just bought 40,000 of GTII.
Right.
Next question is just.
A friend of mine is a shareholder. Hold on a second. I'll read you exactly what this other shareholder sent to me. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to meet one of the executives of Upstream tomorrow in New York City. I'll get an update for you guys.
They have more than one?
Because I just picked up more GTI as a total of 400,000 now. That was somebody I know.
Wow.
And that's what he texted me at 10:52 today. And what were you saying? Yeah, one of my friends is he works with the CEO of Upstream, so I'll get a feel of what's going on there. I'm going to meet him tomorrow in Manhattan, so meeting him for breakfast.
Next question is any update, thoughts on South Korea?
I had another gentleman. I sent my business, the ValCap video, which shows the building a new venture exchange for a government like South Korea or Abu Dhabi, which I tried. And I laid out the idea for become a venture firm, controlled and over their SEC would follow everything we have to do, filing in the U.S. type of thing. That regulators overview it, but we would have no short selling on it at all. Okay, we would eliminate naked short selling, settle it in blockchain. We would set it all up for them. And our job would be to get companies from around the world to go list there because they will be protected instead of ripped off. And we will turn South Korea into a new financial hub. And we will eventually build out a financial news show that we can cover U.S. markets, all the stocks, but any company that lists in South Korea will get U.S. exposure or any country that we cover with the financial news. So No one's getting any coverage right now in the U.S. So if anyone thinks that they are, CNBC's going to cover you, you're smoking crack, because they couldn't give a rat's ass. They care about Apple, IBM, Microsoft, the Goldman Sachs, the stock, that's it, JP Morgan. That's the same 10 names all you see all the time out there.
Okay, someone's pointing out there's extremely low volume on Finger today. I can't read my writing. 53,000. That was it.
76,000.
All right.
76,000 now. It's moved up a little bit.
Yeah.
It is monstrous low volume. Monstrous. These guys don't you understand? The volume stops. I'll say it again. If they thought they can win, they let the stock go higher. So they can't keep pushing it down, because the company has a $5 target by benchmark. All right. That was before the last revenue. The little revenue went up 80-something%. So just based on the increase of revenue by 80%, the $5 target has to be somewhere between 8 and 10 now, just based on the revenue explosion, right?
Right.
It's not going lower. So the short sellers know this. And by pushing it down, it's just bringing in buyers, so they're stopping. All they're trying to do is manipulate it to get you to come out of the stock down here. That's all. They want us to knock it lower. The same thing in GTII. People aren't selling it. It's the shorts manipulating it lower to get you to panic to sell. That's it. And maybe the gentleman that just bought 40,000 shares took out a long. I don't know. We can tell.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
They said, okay, we got some guy to sell 40,000. I could see him out there. Is that you? No. Boom. Someone takes it. They're saying, holy shit, someone bought that. Now what do we do? Now the offer is $46.99 for 2,500 shares. Right? I told you my friend was trying to pay 46 before. They were selling to him at 4,585. That's how you know these are the shorts making the market in the stock. So right now you have a real investor bidding, and the seller is a short. And once he's done, he's trying to hold it down on 2,500 shares, hoping that William will turn around and say, "My God, let me get out. I'll sell my stock at 46. I'll hit the bid." That's what they're looking to do. That's why they offer and keep the spread close. It's a big snow job.
You can expand this question to include Webull and Robinhood if you want, but someone is asking, Moo will not allow good to cancel orders on Finger or GTII. I think they're all piece of crap companies that don't really buy stock. That's my opinion. It's all IOUs. But anyway.
You put a good to cancel order out, all right? You basically remove your stock from any stock loan. They can't do anything with you when you put it out there. Everyone I know who owns a stock, I make them put a good till cancel order out there. This way I don't have to sit there and say to them, hey, make sure you do it. I made sure they all do it. Pick a stupid number. The stock's 4, put it out at 15. You can always change it if you're sitting around, right?
Right.
And this way you put it out for sale. And this way, if it goes, you can always cancel it, move higher. If they don't let you put it out.
If one is having a hard time putting GTC orders in above the market, couldn't you just every morning put in a day order above the market?
You could do a day order, whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially a limit order, good for the day, not good for longer.
Right.
What's happening with the FBI investigating that seller of GTII to Westpac Securities?
I forgot about that. You know what? Well, let me hold on. Just give me a second, everybody, and I'll send a message and see if I get an answer. Hold on.
Relax, everyone.
I forgot to do it. It's my fault.
Relax, everyone.
That was San Diego, right?
San Diego. Westpac or Pac West or the Pac Football League that got their teams into the final instead of FSU?
You're going back there. What are you trying to drive me back up the inch again?
You're so cool as a cucumber when it's trading losses and all of that, but when it's a football bet, you're like the rest of us.
Listen, that a football bet it's harder than roulette. You know, I suffered 13 games. That's a long time I suffered with my bet, and I got them all right, and I lost. So that's my anger, because how many times in my life I actually called it perfect? 0. That's
Except when you married your wife.
Yeah, she's thrilled about that. She basically can't stand me anymore. You know, I was talk about this nonsense for 24 years. My kids all had. Hey, William, I just want to let you know, KYP, my daughter actually took a video of me hitting the pickleballs. I'm going to get it to you, and then I can see you go scurry away once you see how hard I'm going to hit it at you. But anyway, so I'm waiting for this gentleman to get back to me on that. I will get an answer. He has not got back to me yet. I will get an answer on that as soon as I do. Again, GTII, I think that I told you what I heard. All right, that's from a shareholder. Figure Motion looks like it's ready to take off onto the upside. There's 78,000 shares. The volume is little to non-event. Accumulation is the key to this thing. The company's fundamentals just keep getting better. Just go do your own homework on that. You can see it by the revenue, not me. All right. Everyone's always yelling, you need fundamentals. Well, this company's got the fundamentals fully funded, major deals, and who's shorting it? Right? And even like a shit firm like Benchmark gave it a $5 target, okay, based on before the last revenue came out, which, you know, basically was up 80%. Of course, not according to the criminals who wrote that the company's last revenue was down 70% or whatever it was, right? That fake story on Benzinger, right?
Right.
Remember that Mark Bazile has filed lawsuit against Capybara. Benzinger got dragged into it now for posting that story. And I'm not sure if it's still up there. If anyone wants to take a shot and see on Benzinger, if that short story is still there, those negative stories on Benzinger. I heard from someone yesterday said they're not there anymore, and I just didn't have the time to check. But if they're taking them down, you know, obviously the damage has been done, and they're trying to clean up something that already happened. And I'm sure many people have snapshots. I know I sent Mr. Bazile a bunch of stuff about the reports and what was stated. But again, you know, these guys are writing these stories from Brazil. All right. So again, this is not exactly, this is the Wild West in the U.S. They allow this stuff to happen. And there should be somebody responsible for it. If Benzinger wants to post these stories that are completely fraudulent, they have to pay the piper when it comes to them. They lose their business. That's what needs to happen. These guys need to lose their careers. You know, whether it's a broker taking a stock, a naked short, like the gentleman from Share and Tell who worked at Morgan Stanley, took naked short selling every day. When is someone going to ask him, who was your client that gave you orders every day to naked short? Unless you, as the broker, were calling people up, hey, once you go bang this stock out, naked short, it will look the other way. So if you were giving the idea out, shame on you. You should get punished for it. Or if the client was doing it, who's the client? Give him up. That's what I say.
So KYP says she's not as scared of you. She's waiting. And
all right.
She says she already knows all your moves.
All right. I'm not ducking. I'm coming. Anyway, I'm waiting for this other gentleman to give you that. Any other questions, William?
Yeah. There's more questions. How do we know, and this is a layup for you, how do we know that management at GTII is not corrupt like the leader, like AA Popcorn over at AMC? How do you know they're not going to take a deal with the shorts?
All right, I'm going to post up Charlie Mayo's call from 3 years ago when the stock was $1.50. They wanted to buy stock. The company got many calls from that. I'm sure if someone ever asked if someone ever subpoenaed the company, I'm sure they could show you that all the calls they've gotten to raise money over the time since the stock has been running up and down. When the stock went to 9, the company should have taken the deal, correct? If he was going to do it, why did you take a deal at 50 cents when you let it go at 9? The best business model in the world is not developing the next iPhone. It's creating the next short squeeze. And the company has the opportunity because of the criminals have trapped themselves. And you said, well, how does that happen? Well, look at the proof that's come out. Abbott did a bunch of videos on these guys and all their criminal dealings before. That's the Kramers. Griffin Morgensen did a great story on NBC News about them, about what criminals they are, threatening people, loan sharks, right? So they're not angels, we know that. And then, their prime broker, Alpine, is all over the place with every violation in the world, fighting to stay alive. And the only reason they'd be fighting to stay alive is they're trying to get some time for them to move whatever money, assets they're trying to do. Because there's no reason to fight as a criminal that's been busted, the government. Eventually, the government's going to get it. So
I'm reading Gretchen Morgensen's new book. These are the plunderers, how private equity runs and wrecks America. Gretchen Morgensen, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. She told you you're no dummy.
did you ever have actual proof of that?
You sent me a copy of.
I sent you her email where she said that. That is correct.
And she said that you're no dummy. Or something like that. You're not dumb.
She said exactly. So I have that going for me.
You do have that going for you. From a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Me, who makes 1,000 spelling errors all day long. I hardly speak the English language properly, yet I'm no dummy. See, that works. Keep fighting, and good things will happen. Here's the answer. This is what happened in San Diego, Westpac with FBI update. He will not talk about it. Silence. The guy has been shut up.
That's good news, I think.
That's exactly what he said.
That's like Otay Otani or whatever is Shohei Otani. Doesn't want anybody talking about his deal until he decides. All right, so in MULN, one guy said it was the Sousa Holdings and Milton Todd Alt. Do you know those names? Anyway, those were the toxic lenders there.
What were the names? I don't know the names.
It's ESOUSA Holdings and Milton Todd AULT. I never heard of them.
No, I never heard of them. I told you these are homeless people can do these loans. Come to me, and your stock is $5.
You're being unfair to homeless people.
If you need $1 million, let me look at your numbers. Here's the paperwork. As you're talking, I'm selling the stock short.
So
right?
the rest of the questions, almost all of them, as I read my handwriting, are about MMTLP. And I don't think you need to answer those unless you want to. One person's upset that RBC transferred their stock without asking the customer. My own opinion, that was the deal. That's what the company, at settlement, you were supposed to get shares of Nextbridge. So they're just doing what they were supposed to do a long time ago. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Listen, I wouldn't be concerned about this. There's going to be a settlement. Whether your shares are here or there, you're going to get compensated.
I agree with that.
You may have to show them proof that you own shares because your brokerage firm doesn't have any. All right, but that's going to be like Dole Foods. Go back and read about DOLE has too many shareholders. It tells you that you had to have proof that you own the shares through your statements, and that's how you get compensated. So that's what you have to do. So eventually that's what's going to happen. They can't hide this forever. It's just getting more. Every senator that sends a letter is another nail into FINRA and the SEC for criminal activity. And that's look at it. So it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. I know nobody wants to waste another hour. I know everybody's sick about it being in a year. Hey, how does it feel, MMTLP? 1 year. Happy anniversary, 1 year. You know what I say to everybody in MMTLP? I feel awful that you got locked up. I've never seen that before. Okay, I feel terrible about it. But no one gives a fuck about me. I've been here 24 years. All right? And I've been here 24 years. You don't hear me bitching and moaning. I keep fighting to get to the final destination, or our goal is to win.
There are some people who care about you.
I know. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to show you that we're all supporting you. It's 1 year. Take about 24 years. Would you still be able to do this in 24 years? I doubt it. All right? And you can hear it in my voice. I'm not going away. Don't get me wrong. I have up days, down days, just like you do. I got ripped off of $50,000 in a college football bet. That punched me in the heart. I was pissed off about that. But you know what? I get up and I go back to work and we keep going.
Mexican, try day orders. Don't try GTC. They only let you do 87 cents GTC at Moo, which is a shit firm anyway. It's all fake. Moo, Robinhood, and Webull, they use just fake shares anyway. But just do day orders. You're not going to miss out on GTII if it runs.
Yeah, you could go to work that day, pick a stupid number, throw it out there, and you know what you could do. Put one share. Let's say the most you could do it at GTI. Let's say it's 50 cents. They say the most you could do it is $6. Put one share out there for sale at $6. One share. And if it goes off, you'll be alerted, and then you can go out and put more shares out there at any price you want. Because if it's going through 6, you'll know what's going on, right?
Right.
You'll get an alert to your phone, and you can see that you made a sale. So looking at finger motion, since we've been talking, the stock has been slowly moving up. It's only gone up in the last 10 minutes. We traded maybe 1,500 shares, not even at 1,500 shares. In small lots, it's trading, and it's offered at 20, and it's 1,100 shares, 81,000, still nothing going on. Again, if you want to buy it, you buy a little and you bid for a little bit, accumulate. I don't care if it's 2 shares, you buy one, you bid for one. That's the way to do it. That's the way you get in, and you get an average price.
If
I followed my friend into GDC. I'm upside down from 380 down. He's upside down on 400,000 to 500,000 shares, over 4. He believes what's going to happen is going to happen, and I'm sitting here watching it. So I average down as much as I can. The lowest I got was, I think I paid 298 to some, or 290. That's as low as I got. That's it. All the money's in, and I'm just sitting here watching now. But I brought down my average from 380 down to maybe 316. So, which something was awful is now bearable. But as long as the story and he believes why he bought it is still strong, so I sit there and wait for it. That's the same thing with finger motion or GTII. If you believe what's going on, that's how you do it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Who knows?
It all makes sense. All makes sense.
But again, guys, I've been doing this for 24 years. This whole Twitter thing started on the Raging Bull. The Raging Bull was a cesspool. Twitter is bad, but there's 20 crooks now, and there's thousands of longs that are screaming, fighting back. And when you see somebody posting nonsense, don't be afraid to say something. Expose them. It's right. Everything is the same thing. Why would anybody want to protect people that are committing securities fraud? I don't care if the company's bad. If the company's bad, it's the SEC's job to shut it down. But if someone is selling unregistered securities and collecting money and hurting the public company by selling these counterfeit shares, they also should be get exposed and go to jail. So again, we're stuck in the middle here, and it's a one-sided event where they just go after the public company, and you can always tell a basher because they say the same thing. They're pumping it. The CEO's no good. The revenue's false. You name it, they could write anything they like.
So every CEO that starts a small company in the United States is no good.
They all have terrible ideas. They're doing it for fun. They never get paid. If they sell a share, they go to jail. Why would you even want to do it? You got to be on your mind.
Busy Brands just told me that the short report is still on the Crappy Barra site.
Oh, it is. Thank you. Okay. No, I was just curious if they did it. I didn't look. Thank you.
If Alpine were to go down, will there be a squeeze in GTII?
Well, there's a document all over Twitter showing that Alpine has a concentrated short position in GTII. Now, I don't know about you, but concentrated on Wall Street is very different than concentrated in your portfolio. Concentrated means these guys have a short position that is way, way above what they're supposed to be doing in any game. And a prime broker who's stuck in this situation has a major liability here. Could they be cleaning up everything they're doing to hide this mess before they get shut down? When they get shut down, they have to forcibly clean up everything that's in there. No one wants the mess, right? I'm sure Goldman's not saying, hey, Alpine, we'll take all that liability that you have, all that risk, put it over here, we'll take it. No one wants this mess. And it's in black and white. The DTC told us, we're not making it up. So if anyone thinks that we're making it up, it's right there. It's right in front of you.
Wow. This gentleman, 67, he'd love a settlement on MMTLP sooner. He works a tough job, but he had an intruder wielding an axe a few days ago. God.
In his house?
Yeah, I guess at his house.
Just out of curiosity, where do you live? In the mountains? Who the hell's running around with an axe?
Well,
do you live next to one of those axe throwing game places? Is that where you live next door? I don't know. What state do you live in? Give us an idea.
It was his ex-wife.
Now, is that true story?
Yeah, he wrote it. I don't know if it was his wife, but he wrote it.
What state was that? Please let me know what state it is.
Fear, state of fear.
Well, I bought a shotgun. So again, coming to my house, I don't think I can miss. That's why the beauty of a shotgun is you can shoot it. You're allowed to have one. And when you shoot it, you get everything. So I don't have to worry about a guy with an axe. I don't think I can miss it.
That's like the gun John Wayne gave Little Mississippi in whatever that movie was. Can you talk about GDC? That's been asked a couple of times.
I don't know anything about it. All I know is I'm upside down. Whatever I purchased, my average was 380. We dropped it down to 316 by averaging down, and now I have no more capital to average down anymore. So I'm just sitting here, frozen in time. But my friend, who is a very, very respected guy, and I'm following him, and it doesn't make it better that he's long at 415 on 400,000 to 500,000 shares. It doesn't help my position, but I asked him 10 times already, is this okay? He said yes. So I'll sit back and I'm flying this plane blind, as you would say. That's all I know.
This person is pointing out that Chinese banks are going in the toilet. I don't know that any bank in the United States is any better. But anyway, do you think they have been shorting stocks to generate cash?
The Chinese banks?
Yeah, that's his
You're
question.
telling me that Chinese banks are shorting U.S. stocks?
Well, counterfeiting.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, listen, I believe me, if you get proof of that, please let me know, because I can send that to the Secret Service and the FBI, because they're looking for offshore people. And if the Chinese banks are doing it, imagine if the Chinese banks in China are naked shorting our stocks to get capital. If they are doing it, it's brilliant. They should do it. Why not? It's free money. U.S. will never catch them, right?
Oh,
I
he's
think it's a
well, there's two reactions to the axe. You can guess one. He said it was a pissed off Florida State fan. But the gentleman, he's a custodian at a high-rise condominium building in Toronto. I guess they don't have guns in Toronto, so they use axes.
wow. That's when you let all the mental patients into your country. That's what you get. We're getting all the criminals and all the insane people they're dropping in on.
That's what he says. Getting crazy with many more homeless people, addictions, and mental illness. Sounds like any blue city in the United States.
Give them the people that are. I don't want to get down that road.
Yeah, we don't want to go down that road. All right.
I do want to go down that road because if all our families are at stake and your kids walking around.
No, it's better to censor our thoughts, keep the country unsafe, because we don't want mean tweets or honest thoughts. Just keep the unreality going.
It's 1:18, and we've been on the call since 12:30. What's that, about 30, 50 minutes? And Finger Motion's traded 1,500 shares.
We've been on the call 47 minutes.
47 minutes, and the stock is 416 to 419, 81,000. We were started at 78 something, whatever it was, and here we are. Nothing is going on. Zero. These guys are sitting here. They have no choice but to start buying some back shortly because they're afraid the stock is going to run up. I'll tell you, this stock to me looks like the same thing it looked like when it was at the top, when I thought it was going to run. All right, there's no selling. And as we speak, they drop it down by 200 shares for sale to, instead of 416 to 419, it's 416 to 418. All right, they're closing that spread. They want someone to actually hit the bid. Meanwhile, GTI is actually firmed up, and the big offers are disappearing now. Now it's 46 bid to 48. That could be a long because all of a sudden all the weird numbers disappeared. 46.80 is the last trade. All right, so again, these are those odd numbers tell you those are trades by the shorts. That's all you need to know. All right, that's how you can tell. And the smaller names, and that's when you start seeing those weird odd lot numbers, those weird numbers that those are shorts by the shorts.
Let's see what else.
I gave you the stuff about Westpac. The guy won't talk about it anymore. And this guy was a personal friend of the gentleman, the broker, and his family.
One guy's asking your opinion on something that I'll ask. What's your opinion on a settlement price on MMTLP, which represents an oil and gas company? And you've had 20 years of experience. I assume you know all about oil and gas.
No, I know nothing about oil and gas, but I could talk about a stock settlement. They'll look at this thing and say, okay, the high was $10, $11, I think. I can't remember. Maybe 12.
12, I think. 12, yeah.
So it's 12. So they're going to sit there and say, okay, the shorts got the money all up to $12, right? These people need to be compensated. They may say, hey, listen, a fair price, maybe they give you $25. They'll double what you did for your time and your loss of revenue, all this for a year, loss of your time. But you will have to sign some sort of paperwork that,
you get a release. You're not going to sue.
Yeah, you're not going to sue them, and that's what you're going to get from that. So that's what I think, something like that. There's no way they're going to give you hundreds of dollars. They won't do that. They're going to come back and say, we're going to give you a fair number. Maybe it's 30, maybe it's 50. I don't know. But hundreds of dollars, if you don't take the settlement, you can go fight them in court and good luck. That's what they're going to say.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I said, that's my belief. I think that's what's going to happen.
Kendall is asking, is there any truth or proof to 5 billion synthetics in MULN? To me, synthetics
Yes,
is
there's
just a
actual
fancy
proof.
name.
It says in Frankie Nes's story, they actually have proof.
All right, go
So
ahead. I talked over you. Say it again. I was bad.
if Frankie Nes put up a story, they have proof that it's 5 billion shares. All right. I'm telling you, these names have those numbers. Kodak has over 1 billion shares short. Over 1 billion. Elon Musk, I put the data up. I forgot how many his was. 2 billion? I forgot the number.
So is synthetic the same as a counterfeit share?
A synthetic is a fake, a creation, right?
Yeah.
They created this thing.
Yeah. It's just a
Who gives
fancy
it-
word for
So the
fraud.
people that are using so the gentleman that's using the word synthetic, okay, go take a gummy, a pot gummy, and remove that from your vocabulary because that's the word Wall Street wants you to use. It's a counterfeit. So either grow up and join our team, take the word synthetic and stick it up your ass because it means that it's okay when they say synthetic.
Kendall is a nice person. She
I'm only busting. That's the word they want you to use. It's a synthetic. It's a naked short. The minute you say counterfeiting, that's when everyone's balls get twisted. Because what it is an unregistered security created by a short seller that has no right to do it. So it's a counterfeit. No one has a right to make a counterfeit 20. But if you do it, you go to jail. In the equity markets, no one's allowed to create shares, get the money. The company gets nothing. They're an unregistered shareholder. They own a stock that no one even knows who you are. Yet that's allowed. They use the word synthetic. The newspaper reporters all use naked short. My goal is to get to South Korea and make them use the word counterfeit. Take that word naked short, take it out of your vocabulary. That's the game plan. So I don't mean to be nasty. I'm just trying to express myself, I guess. I don't know. So I just watched them cross a couple of thousand shares, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 finger motion at 415. There's 600 on the bid, 3,000 trades, nothing changes. That, my friends, is 3,000 of a wash trade. Okay? If you notice, Richard, it's not legal advice. All right, for anybody else. A wash trade always happens on the bid side, not the offer side. The stock is 415 to 418. You don't see them crossing 3,000 at 418. You see them crossing 3,000 at 415 on the lower end. It's always the lower end. All right, they don't want upticks. They don't want to show anybody that the stock is being purchased. So they always try to cross it at the low end. So now the 600 shares that was at 415 with no trade disappeared now. Now it's 414 to 418. So what we just witnessed was a wash trade at 416, then no trade, and the bids all dropped. So there you go. That's Wall Street for you. You followed a fake trade of a couple of thousand. The bid that was at 416, that was fake, they dropped out, and now it's 414. Pretty easy to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
No trades, make the markets move up and down, and everyone on this phone sits there and says, "Oh my God, my stock's going down. Look at it," without understanding exactly what happens all day long. It's actually beautiful outside today, so if you guys want to go out, you live on the East Coast, go enjoy it. It's beautiful out.
Just make sure you take your computer with you so you can watch every scintillating minute of trading.
I told you, put one share out for sale. If you have it attached to a platform, it'll go off on your cell phone. You can always check back in and make a sale if the stock is running. Just put one. Put it all out. If you can't hold it out there. So finger motion is trading 100 shares either way now. We went from trading 1.2 million a day. The volumes dropped down to 846,000 over the last 90 days. And every day that we get this volume like this, which is normal, this is normal volume, this is okay. That number will be below 500,000 soon. Every day it keeps, the old big volume days disappear and the volume drops down. And this will give you a complete understanding of what a short position is really about and how it gets exposed. When the volume drops down, how are they going to cover it? For all the bozos that think, the stock trades a million shares, they can cover it. That's all false. They can't cover it. That volume is fake. Anything else, William?
Well, somebody takes their hat off to you.
Thank you very much. But again, I'm on your side. I'm with you. If we don't fight together, they're going to steal from my grandson, your grandkids, your children, yourself. All right? This has been going on since 1988. So fit yourself in any way you like on the scale. From 1988, it's 2024. What is it, 35 years? Something like that, whatever it is. So if you're 30 years old, they stole from your dad. If you're 60 years old, they're stealing from you. If you've been here for 40 years, let's say 60 to 20 is 40 years, they've been taken from your pension the whole time. Whether you're a police officer, a doctor, whoever you are. Military, that's my favorite thing. They always salute the military, yet they're robbing them blind. Come on, keep coming out there. You're making 100, you're making 50,000, 60,000 a year defending the country. When you put your money into a pension, they just steal it from you. Go out there and get those poor people that fought in Pearl Harbor, whatever, all those guys, all their money in their pension. They don't give a shit about what happened to them. Kill them. Vietnam, take their money, right? Afghan, wherever, Iraq, wherever they fought, don't make a difference. Take their money. Nurses, doctors, everybody. Even the Secret Service, I told them they're stealing your money. Think about that. How do you feel? You got a pension? Yeah, we have a pension. They do with it. They give it to a money manager. Yeah, well, when he invests, they take his money too. Every day they take a small percentage from it. Every day.
So do you have any comment on Bloomberg TV or whatever it is talking about Alpine this morning? Wall Street's self-regulator tried to ban Alpine Securities from the industry after finding that it had jacked up fees on customers by 60,000% and violated cease and desist orders 35,000 times. But the Utah-based brokerage firm isn't going quietly. That was the chevron below the talking heads on Bloomberg this morning.
Why are they fighting this hard? What are they fighting for? They have more moving violations than anybody. Every crook backs away from any confrontation with the government, right?
Yeah.
These guys decided that they're going to go on the offensive and they're going to pay some good lawyers to go after them. To do what? Try to get them not to think about all the crimes they committed? Is that what they're trying to do? Or, like we spoke with Richard, it's not legal advice. We're both under the same opinion, our opinion, that these nice fellas are just trying to get away and hide assets as they need time to do it. So they could be moving it from one thing to the next thing, buying property somewhere that, no one can get it back. They're doing something because it doesn't make any sense. They're not fighting FINRA because they want to make it a better place for you and me, right? Right? Why don't they say, hey guys, everybody, once you rally behind us,
I've never seen Mexican. I've never seen what you refer to as a squat toilet in any time in the Middle East. And when I lived in Southeast Asia, I never saw it. You know where I've seen them? Paris, France. And no, really? I've never used one. But thank you for bringing the discussion where it belongs, I guess.
Listen, if you're not into this, then just hang up. We're not here to entertain you. We don't give a shit. But you want to be a comedian? Go to a comedy club and go get a gig. No, we don't need to hear it. This is serious money. People invested, and people are concerned about their investments, and we're concerned for you. And that's why we have these calls and try to exploit anything that comes out and get to everyone so that we can get the advantage of it.
This is interesting, Ham. This guy seems to be in the know. He says Fingers financials are projected for the first week of January, and one analyst is projecting break even, but he thinks it's probably going to be better than that.
Again, I can't, I until it comes out with the company, I don't know exactly what they're doing. So again, I just can follow. They always say the trend is your friend, right? The company's revenue is exploding. They do cell phones. How many people on this call would give away their phones and not use it anymore? Think about a country like China. There's no more money. If you don't have a cell phone, you can't live in China. You need your phone so that you can buy things using your credit card. Everything is on your phone. So in order to keep your phone alive, you have to buy top-up minutes and pay for your cell phone service. It's not like in the U.S., because how many people that we all know that didn't pay their cell phone bill, they don't care. They just move along. In China, you need your cell phone. No, it's not even a doubt. You can go Google, look at any video. Everyone needs their phone to get access to payment. What happens off of that is Finger Motion has access to everything about your cell phone. How fast you drive, where do you go, where do you spend money on? Do you eat broccoli every day, or do you drink a beer and getting drunk every day? They can tell how fast you drive. They can tell how long you sleep when your phone is idle. They can tell.
Wow, you sent out an Instagram. You didn't talk about it today. How Goldman Sachs illegally makes dollars. They use the market.
It's on Facebook. Someone sent it to me, and I don't have Facebook, so I don't know.
It says the guy is saying they don't care. They make 500 million. Their most profitable, Goldman Sachs' most profitable business. It's in the back office. It always was. I knew the guys there. Goldman Sachs didn't build this. They're not rocket scientists.
I told you that. No one's
75% of its income in stock loan department.
That came from Pat Byrne. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Busy. Make sure you get that video from William. The video where Pat Byrne is talking about Goldman Sachs' business. They're basically a stock loan business. They're nothing to do. They're a bank with a stock loan business. Is that what he said? I forgot what he used.
Yeah, he said they're a stock loan desk with the name of an investment bank on the door.
Right. That's where they get 75% of the money. Pat Byrne got that information when he sued Goldman and Merrill Lynch, and he got that. That's the document that he got back. So that cost him $30 million, by the way. You can ask him that. So Busy, when you say to him, Pat, how'd you get this document? How much did it cost you to get that document? He's going to say $30 million. Mark it down right on the nose.
Make sure that he, anyway, I won't say that. I'll say that off air.
So we're blistering in volume. We went from 88,000 in Finger Motion. We're now at 89,800. So the 500 shares is going back and forth like a ping pong in here. Every once in a while to create some more volume.
This is almost as exciting as watching Redskins football.
No one's watched Redskins football for a long time, William. So you better get a different. It's like watching paint dry. How's that one? Stick with that. And there's really again, these guys have created these massive short positions, and now they can't get out of them. And don't get me wrong, I know people give up every once in a while. I got it. We understand. You got to move on with your life. And I've told many people, don't get caught up in this thing. Go enjoy your life. And I'm sure that I could probably find a bunch of people that'll say thank you, because you do get caught up in it. You wind up posting on Twitter all night. You wind up thinking, you consumed. I got it. That's what it does to you. But I'm telling you, we're at the finish line in the two names that I know. And I think that will help spill over to help us with other names. And I do think that Finger Motion is going to go first. And I do think that GTI will follow right behind it. That's what I think. And I do believe that Finger Motion, thanks to security fraud, never-ending security fraud, just is making this thing go higher. All right? They never cover anything. And I think that GTII, with the volume, if the volume comes back in here and we can take these guys for another, 5 or 10 million shares down here, it'd be fantastic. But again, we need the money from Finger Motion to really load up on GTII.
All right, it's been 1 hour, even.
And I took 2 naps in the middle of it.
Well, your audience did. Part of your audience.
It's part of the audience. But again,
Me.
I can't say enough to everybody. We're here trying to break these guys. We're not going away. And I think that the law enforcement is coming. And I just think that you just hang in there. There's nothing I can say. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a big sound for them. This is KYP.
Nobody can hear you because you're like a computer robot. You sound like right now.
Well, hold on. How about now?
Yeah, much better.
I sent you a quick little video that you could put on next to your speaker. It's me whacking the pickleballs.
Okay.
It's KYP. I don't want to show everybody the video, but you can actually hear me practicing. And if you put the sound on for everybody, you'll get a kick out of it.
I don't see it, but maybe you emailed it. I'll look for it. And the video.
Did you get the video? Come on, William, wake up.
I didn't get the video. I'm looking at there now. I just got it. Let me play it.
Hit the
First sound.
Put your volume up and let them hear the sound. The sound will tell you what's on KYP, what you better start running. Can you do it?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I can't cover you, but I'm putting the sound up. She doesn't seem to be as scared.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you can. Why don't you play it? It'll be louder.
Hold on. I hit him rapid fire. I showed a couple of people the video. I hit 30 balls in a row. I just keep dropping them and whacking them as hard as I can. And they stay on the court, KYP, so I'm not afraid. I'm coming for you. Anyway, let's move along. I'm tired. I don't want to get people bored listening to that nonsense, but I'm just trying to change the subject to make everybody relax a little bit. We got another 1,000 shares or 700 shares of Finger Motion. Just so you understand, everyone, Finger Motion is trading between 300, 200, 500 shares. That is the volume going back and forth today. There's no buyer of size. There's no seller of size. So these odd lots going back and forth suggest to me that it's criminal activity. And that's what you're seeing here. GTII, after all the big volume crossing, all that big volume, hasn't traded in 30 minutes. 858,000 shares traded. My guess, real volume is probably 250,000. The rest is all fake cross stock. Because if there was the seller, they all topped, right? Nothing's changed. It's been sitting here since we've been talking for a half an hour at 858,000 shares. Very little is traded. I may have missed a few, but not much. At the pace it was going, It should have been 3 million shares today, right? All of a sudden, out of the gate, hurry up, sell, 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 sell. Then it stopped. That's because they had to wash a bunch of trades to buy more settlement time. That's what's going on. All the prearranged trading happened, and now they're looking around saying, I hope no one buys any stock today because we got it down. It's down on the day 0.0150. Whatever the hell that number is, that's what it's down. All right, that's all they want to do. Keep it red. Keep it red. Keep it red. It's Taylor Swift song, Red. There you go. That's she helped write the song for the shorts. And the finger motion's up 14 cents. It's 200 by 500 shares, and it trades 200 shares at a time, back and forth. If you were short 200 million shares, what's the big deal if you sold another 200 shares or 300 shares trying to mark it down? There is nothing. That's why they do it. It's the same thing all the time. Anything else, William? We're okay?
No.
Anybody got any questions?
I can't contain myself. This is so interesting at the end.
Well, again, that's the recap I heard. I told you a shareholder that reached out to my buddy at the SEC enforcement conference. And the reason I'm leading you that direction and giving you all the details, that's as much as I know. And that's when that gentleman reached out to my friend, and my friend told him to reach out to the company, and I heard he did.
So
Okay,
here's a quote from Ken Griffin somebody put up. Ken Griffin from Citadel. Quote, markets are efficient because of active managers setting the prices of securities, trying to drive the value of companies toward where we think they should be valued. Unquote.
So what is he? He's Julius Caesar. He determines yes or no whether you live or not. He determines it.
I guess.
Well, if he didn't have the loophole to actually help price these securities, Ken Griffin would be on the phone with us screaming, say what's going on. That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
If I was on that side being the crook, I would talk about how wonderful we are also. That's what I'd be saying. We're wonderful. We help price the security so you don't pay more money for something that's overinflated. You're too stupid to do it yourself. We do it for you. That's what's going on here. We need Ken Griffin to tell us how we should invest our money, and you shouldn't do it because we think it's overvalued. He has, I guarantee you, he has nothing to back up anything to add to his value about why finger motion. If it was finger motion, he wouldn't even know anything about the company. It's just numbers. They don't know anything. You can't study all these stocks. What do you think? He's got 9,000 analysts there working. He knows what's going on with NVIDIA. Come on, give me a break. It's just numbers. And here's NVIDIA again, making its move back up to 500. Knock it down to 450, take it back up to 500. You could sit there and say, I can make a living in these numbers, but I'm telling you, you would faint more than you could make money. You'll faint every time they destroy it because it's impossible because it's such a black hole when it's collapsing that you'll faint. It's too hard. That's it, William?
Yeah, there's no really new questions. It's a bunch of things not worth asking.
Just think about Goldman Sachs. The stock is 350. It's almost back to 52-week high. It was broke 300 a couple of weeks ago. Right back. No matter what they do, they lost the deal with Apple. Right? They lost it to credit card company. They lost the deal with Apple. They're accused of stealing. No big deal. Stock still goes up every day. Small company, and you get wiped out. You lose a deal with Apple, you'd be pennies.
That's because the people at Goldman Sachs are geniuses.
Right. Everything they do is 100%. Hey, we lost the deal with Apple Computer on the credit cards, on consumer credit cards. That's good for us.
They
Apple.
just trade on inside information and they cheat and they
Look at JP
steal.
Morgan. JP Morgan, 159.38 is the 52-week high. It's off $1. I met someone this morning who said that his business is doing awful. My friend the other night I went to see owns a fried chicken store. And he said business has been down for at least a year. So if you just ask everyone when you walk down the street, whatever they're doing, all right, I don't know anybody doing tremendous. So the economy's falling apart, yet the Goldman Sachs and these other stocks just continue to rise. It's a rigged game, my friends. It's rigged up and it's rigged back down. You know, these guys are baiting everybody into these stocks. And when everyone gets fully loaded, you got to remember, the money managers are buying Goldman Sachs. That's what they buy with your pension money. And just as they're getting you in at 350 or NVIDIA at 500, boom, they pull the plug and now you're down to 400. Tesla down 200 points. Whatever it may be, they pull the plug on these things. After all the money comes in, everybody's putting their IRA money. Get it to work. We're going to help you save less on your taxes. Anyway, listen, everyone, it's beautiful outside. I'm going to go outside and go for a walk. I'm going to go get a hot dog and enjoy the day. And I'm very confident where we're going. I believe law enforcement is here. And there's some people that know it too. So keep your eyes open. Read stuff on Twitter. You'll get hints of what's going on. All right, William.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm not going to stay very much longer because it's tedium for me. But just in terms of some of these questions on MMTLP, thoughts on RBC transferring to AST without customer consent. I think I already answered that, but that's what you bought a year ago. That's what you bought. You bought MMTLP that at record date, or technically at settlement date, would transfer 1-for-1 into shares of NextBridge. Well, it took them a year, but there's really no, other than pain and suffering, there's really no cost to you because it was a private company. So they're just fulfilling exactly what they're supposed to do. Personally, I think it's good news for you because I think it's the best place to be. Then somebody said $60 billion settlement, in other words, 600 million shares times over $100 a share, 60 billion settlement. That's insane. There's never one been this large, a settlement that large. Well, I think that's a back-ass words conclusion. It's not that the settlement would be bigger than any that's ever happened. I don't know. It's just they crimed, they stole, they counterfeited on such a scale. That's the problem. And I think if they settled at $100 a share, they're saving money. Remember, if they paid $60 billion in settlement, they probably can write off 40, 50% of that on their taxes. I'm not an accountant, but I'm sure they'll figure out how to write the majority of that off. Or not the majority, but a good chunk of it. And then they'll go back to criminal acts. They'll make it all up over the next 2 or 3 years. 60 billion is nothing to Goldman Sachs, Ken Griffin, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, the Cohen brother, the Cohen guy. One settle at 100. I can't read the whole thing, but one guy said that what if they settle at 100 plus? That's the rumor, but there's only a 1% fine to the criminals. That's going to be the deal. If there's a settlement it means the criminals aren't going to go to jail and the fine will be small. That's just, you either get your money out of settlement or you get them going to jail years and years from now. Unfortunately, that's the setup. That's why they sell without fear. Because remember, these are white boys. They break the law. They don't go to jail. They have attorneys. Under a senator who's now president proudly wrote the crime bill that Bill Clinton signed, and another candidate for president touted. You know, if it's 3 strikes, you're out. So anyway, on Bitcoin, I think there's going to be a correction in Bitcoin, but I'm not saying anything about the long term on it. Okay, that's all I see. I don't see any other questions that I missed, but I might have. I mean, I don't, from what I wrote down. If you don't want settlement, can't you just stay with NextBridge? Well, the other day I pointed out to you the 3 Ps of oil and gas reserves. 1P is proven reserves, and you usually, banks will lend money to you on that. That's 90% certainty of the production, of the reserves being commercially producible. 2P is 50%. That's probable reserves. And where that comes, if you drill 1 well, that can typically set up 4 step-out wells that are proven. But if you go 1 more section, that's probable. So anyway, probable reserves are 50%. And normally your probable reserves, as soon as you drill a proved well, a lot of the probable goes into proven. It's anyway. And then there's possible reserves, 3P. And that's 10% certainty. That's high risk. There's 4P, which is basically moose pasture. But when you do an engineering report, I mean, my understanding is there's an estimated 3.2 to 5 billion barrels of oil at Oro Grande. What I don't know this. I've never seen an engineering report. So, I mean, taking the worst case, use 5 billion because it's easier to do in my head. Worst case, if they're all 3P reserves, which they're not, there's only 10% of that, which would be a candidate for being purchased. If it's probable reserves, mostly, it's, 2.5 billion. If it's largely proved reserves, which I think is unlikely, but the fact, there's so much in it, and it's beyond my, I'm not a geophysicist or a geologist, but it depends on the formation, it depends on the structure, depends on your seismic, it depends on your science wells, depends on this horrible word closeology. It depends on a lot, but my guess is that if I don't know how to guess it. I also guess after they've been drilling and they've now increased their ownership from 70 some odd percent to 100%, that the reserves are going up. Anyway, Chris, that's a long way of answering that if you're in NextBridge, there's a lot of reserves there. There is risk, but there are reserves there. If you stay in MMTLP, my opinion, once 100% of 165 million shares move over, I think it's over with. And guess what? I still have shares in MMTLP. Once all possible shares move to NextBridge, the remaining shares are definitively counterfeit and as worthless as worthless as a $3 bill. So except for Wall Street has never failed to settle a trade conceptually. I argue, there's a lot of unsettled trade, but the point is you get the entry in your account, you get the dollars, you can trade that entry in your account. So ostensibly life goes on. But there's never been a case where, like this, where they don't have the obligation to honor the one-for-one distribution. In other words, one share of MMTLP is worth one share of NextBridge on a non-diluted basis. The problem for the street is NextBridge is proving up. See, the one thing someone said to Ham said they'll start at $25. Ham doesn't know anything about the reserves. Ham doesn't know about the value of NextBridge. He's just telling you what would happen in a typical case where Wall Street tries to settle, like COSM, a worthless company that had contracts. All of a sudden, they get a lot of money because they do a deal with the shorts, and they've got 35 million, and I guess they got their contracts fulfilled, and I guess now they've got a future, I guess. But typically, the shorts would keep crushing COSM until they saw we suckers come along. And that's what they're expecting, the criminals. In Torchlight, remember, Torchlight owned this asset, but the criminals said to themselves, you know what, it doesn't matter they have an asset. They need to raise money to drill it. So we're going to destroy the stock. And then they won't, it doesn't matter if they raise money, they'll dilute themselves so much that we, the criminals, will be rich. And then they destroy Torchlight, they destroy MMT. They tried to destroy MMTLP, but it stopped working. You know why it stopped working? Five or six of the major shareholders got plum dog mean. And I mean plum dog mean. It's the only thing that separates you from living and dying. And that's just the way it is. That's what happened. Is MMTLP, well, NextBridge is increasing its value every single minute. Those wells that are producing now, the shallow zone, that keeps increasing value. So the criminals and Wall Street and the idiot woman at FINRA, oh, I got my Juris Doctor at UVA. I'm smart. And I went to Georgetown and I deserve this job and I can make decisions. Well, she made a hell of a doozy decision to stop trading. But she had no experience, zero experience where it matters. We can't keep giving jobs just based on checking boxes. People have to know what they're doing. Anyway, it's one thing to be a lawyer. It's a different thing to be risking millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in Wall Street trading and understanding the risk reward. She had no clue. She said, or someone wrote, well, why don't they just transfer the short position to the new company? That's what we always did before. Well, the difference is the new company's private, and the shorts couldn't keep destroying it. So anyway, the settlement, I think, is going to be valuable. I don't think it's going to be $25. I think it's going to be, I've given you numbers over $1,000, and I will tell you, I stand by my numbers. However, this matters. This matters. I've never seen the engineering report. So 250 could be the right number. But I use higher numbers. Why? Because I don't want lawyers out there. I don't want to be the one that starts at a low number and then we start negotiating from that. If we went into the criminal lawyers and said, well, we're thinking $100, they'd come back and they'd settle at $37.50 after they take their fees. I'd rather go in and say $1,150, and that's firm, and then we'll negotiate from there. And maybe we end up with $750, $800. They broke the law. They violated the rules. They're the ones going to jail, not their lawyers, but the criminals. So start high. If the reserves are 5 or 6 billion and they're mostly in the 1p or 2p range, you could get a huge buyout. Huge. And the reserves could be 10 billion by the time some of this, estimated by the time some of this drilling and seismic and closeology gets factored in. So anyway, yes, the second part of your question, Chris, and I don't think any of this diatribe I just gave or this disquisition I just gave is responsive to your question. But yes, you can just stay with NextBridge and then you can own your shares, which I think are going to be valuable. But I think in a settlement, whatever, if it's a Wall Street Congress driven settlement, I think people in NextBridge will be included. What I primarily have in mind is I think there'll be a cash distribution to pay for time and suffering, and frankly, to get your signature so they can move on. 60 billion, 100 billion, $500 billion. $1 trillion is going to be cheap to Wall Street as NextBridge keeps drilling and as culpability is figured out, and as these sharp lawyers add penalty on top of penalty, Wall Street's going to be lucky to escape this without losing its right to exist and without people going to prison. So they'll sign up. It's not their money anyway. They still have their bonuses. Anyway, enough on your question, I guess. And it's a good question. I'm not, I just get frustrated. Oh, good. That's a good point, David. It's long-term capital gains. But basically, if you're in NextBridge and the stock were to do a financing outside of making a deal with the short, this is going to be a case, I believe, and I've said it a year ago, where NextBridge is the shock absorber and the middle ground between the criminals and us and the shareholders of NextBridge, and shares are going to be issued to solve this problem, but it will redound to the benefit of ourselves. But anything, David Suckamel, that increases the value of NextBridge shares, I paid $8 like an idiot. But if the value went to 800, that step up in value is tax-free, or more accurately, tax deferred. And as you point out, once it goes long term, you pay 20% plus Obamacare. So it's around 24.5%, I think, that you pay on your gain. Um, luckily in California, they've proposed that anyone that's recently moved to California gets medical care. You're happy with 100. Well, I'm not happy with 100. I don't accept it. But, I mean, Aaron, my number is 1150. I came up using anywhere between 3.5 and 5 billion barrels of oil, ignoring the natural gas, ignoring the water, and ignoring any, I don't know, trying to ignore any projections of how far the field extends and how much acreage they can add. And the fact that I believe oil is going to go to 150, 200, $250 a barrel. And if we continue our idiocy in the Middle East and in China and in the Ukraine, the dollar, oil priced in dollars, could go to $500 a barrel. 500 very quickly. We're going to get all upset. Oh, you're pro-Hamas. Oh, you love Trump. Oh, he's a misogynist. He's a tweeter. Oh, you're a white supremacist. Oh, we're going to get all fighting about all that, whatever it is. Oh, you're a Putin lover. What's really going on? The banksters and the elite are stealing from you, and they're printing money while the world will accept US dollars in trillions of dollars. They're printing it so fast they can. They're stealing it. They're fleecing you, and you're arguing, oh, he's a Hamas lover. It's all distraction. You cannot rely on US news, the mainstream media, I mean, not the company. But if you want to, go ahead. If it keeps you going every day, you can trust what you see. I guess because I'm using this, I can't show you anything. No, I can't. Anyway, I'll save that for another time. But I think going back to Ora Grande, my own view is really skewed. I think oil prices are going to treble from here if we're lucky. They may go higher. So I have a lot of optimism. I'm bullish on being an investor in oil and gas, but trying to leave all of that out. Leave out some of the additions like natural gas and the water. I think the number should be $1,150. $50 or so for the lawyers, $100 as a stock distribution, and then $1,000 goes to NextBridge for newly issued shares. But and so that means anybody owning NextBridge shares, automatically your shares are worth $1,000 a share, and everyone gets a cash. That's how I see it. But if the lawyers are able to look at an engineering report and convince each other that the settlement should be $500 or $600 a share, at some point you got to hit the bid and move on in life. But I don't think it'll be anywhere near 100. Anywhere near 100. That'll be a further fleecing of America. Well, Charlie Munger likes Costco, and I looked up the chart. Who will save your soul? Who will save your souls when it comes to the flowers now? Who will save your souls after all those lies that you told, boy? Now, who will save your souls? She is now dating Kevin Costner. I was her fan before anyone ever heard of her. I saw her on a late night show and I bought her album. I saw her at the 930 Club. Somebody yelled, oh, I won't say what they yelled out, but it had something to do with her sweater top. What was I looking at? Oh, Costco. I think the stock market's going to have a year-end rally, and I think next year it could go much higher. Doesn't mean it's the best place to be, but they're going to manipulate it. What's the symbol on Costco? I don't know what it is. I'm trying to get a chart. Symbol. Cost. Very good. It's a good symbol. So if you look at a chart of it, let's say, let's go with 5 years. Charlie Munger has said, buy that stock. That's Costco. That is impressive. Although I read if he had kept his money in Berkshire Hathaway, he'd be much better off. Costco's a perfect stock. I don't know what the dividend is, but Costco's a perfect stock to be in if the overall market does correct and we go into a recession or a depression. Costco is a perfect defensive stock to be in. But my point is that there'll be sharp corrections in the market, and at some point it'll be all over anyway. But Costco's a good stock to keep your eye on if there is a pullback in the stock. Thank you, Zach. I know you've been on the call. We've been on it for almost 2 years and 2 hours. And man, I appreciate that question. I really do. Thank you, Zach. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, remember, our dollar is going to go down in purchasing price and purchasing value. And, you know, the recent worldwide shutdowns somehow seems to be accelerating everything. For example, I used to always wonder when I came back from Europe or even Denver, I'd come to DC and think, why don't we have outdoor seating everywhere? Well, now we do. Every restaurant you go to has outdoor seats because of what happened a couple of years ago. Working from home has been accelerated. And for some reason, it's accelerating the decline of U.S. influence in the world. I, for one, am really thankful I don't have to read any more tweets, and I'll pay any cost. So to not have a misogynist white supremacist in the White House. And I'm very thankful that I have an elderly man who can barely get off a stage without the assistance of an education PhD wife. But the consequence of that is that the rest of the world isn't much afeared of the United States. And you're seeing the breakdown. And that's okay. It'll all be okay. But what it means is relationships are changing. It's just how it is. To me, it looks like Russia is going to have their American century. I think the Crown Prince, very wisely and very sagely, is making new arrangements, geopolitical arrangements on behalf of Saudi Arabia. One of them's with Russia. And we've chosen for some reason to make enemies out of Russia. You know, if I had to pick one population that I've come into contact with that is simpatico to the United States, it's the Russian people. But instead, because a petulant and underqualified, spoiled brat ran for president and got drunk the night before because she assumed the cheating was going to get her in, and then she lost, she blamed it on Russia. And so did the media, everybody, and it's Russia, Russia, Russia. You know how many people have died in the Ukraine war? In the Ukraine, the border country? 500 million people. 500,000 people. 500,000 people have died. For what? For what? Does the glory come to the United States military? I don't think so. To NATO? I don't think so. Does it make countries in the Middle East and elsewhere concerned about U.S. military might? I don't think so. So we're going to be, I think, looking at a long decline in the purchasing power of the dollar and in our lifestyles. So I think Costco can hit $1,000 a share. But my point is, part of it's going to be because the dollar's not worth as much as it used to be. Yeah, I really like the idea of buying Costco. I don't know a lot about the company other than I got the idea from Charlie Munger about, I don't know, 2 months ago. And I just think that's a logical company if there's a correction and you have cash to buy. But it's had a hell of a run, like the whole market. And if we go into a crash, which is possible, I just don't think it's happening right now. Maybe after Biden is reelected, or Hillary. It'll either be Biden or Hillary, I think. Then we'll get Kamala if it's Biden. If it's Hillary, we'll have Hillary and that wife of Wiener. I forgot her name. Huma Abedin. Yeah, if it's a year, you'll pay less in capital gains if you sell MMTLP, if there's a profit in GTII. Do you know, Susan, that hedge funds and high frequency traders, like Ken Griffin, they can trade a stock in 15 seconds, make money? 60% of that gain is treated as a long-term capital gain. And then, because of how they structure their pools of money, the distributions to themselves are taxed at 15%. I think that's the number. It's called Can't remember what it's called right now. Yeah, war is better than mean tweets, I guess. I don't agree they had a cruel invasion of a peaceful country. Ukraine, if you study it, Casey, Ukraine is corrupt. It's the most corrupt nation maybe on the planet. Part of where Putin went in, and I'm trying to remember as I'm talking to you if Odessa and Crimea are part of that, or Donbass. The other day, Vishy Rush Swami, I can't say his name properly, challenged the neocon Haley to name three provinces or breakaway sections. I meant to look them up. I'm not sure I can, but I think it's the Crimea, Odessa, and then there's three, Donbass and two others. But anyway, that's where Russians live. And we, MKC, the United States of America under Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, promised Russia that we would not move the NATO borders closer to Russia. And then the neocons, Victoria Nuland, etc. I'm gonna lose all the names, but just 2 or 3 years ago, we could have had peace and an agreement in the Ukraine. But we as Americans said, no, we're going to go forward with the invasion, with the military action. I just don't agree with you. I don't think Ukraine is peaceful. If you look at this Zelensky guy, he's as corrupt as anyone in the world. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. And I just don't agree with you. I'm getting tweets. It distracted me. If you study history, MKC, and I try to, I'm not a historian, but I like reading history. There's a great book out. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it came out about 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I read it. It was fascinating. And it's about how geography sets up a lot of these issues. And Russia, Rus, R-U-S, Rus, Muscovy, an empire that goes back, I don't know, at least 1,300, maybe over 2,000 years, Muscovy. But as it expanded, and in modern memory, 3 armies have attacked Moscow. One of them French and 2 of them German. Where do they come? They come north through the lowlands, Poland and above, and then south through the Ukraine. There's no natural barrier. And so when the Tsar looked at it, I even remember Peter the Great fought, was it Charles of Sweden or Poland? It was an issue then. But Stalin wanted a buffer. I'm not a fan of Stalin's. And I can see why Russia would want a neutral Ukraine as a buffer, but instead we forced NATO, and that's dangerous. Would you like the Soviet Union to come into Quebec? I don't know. I don't know. I don't agree with you, but you obviously have a very thoughtful opinion on it. But Ukraine is not a peaceful country, and I mean, I don't know if you've studied it, and I haven't studied it much, but I have studied it. Ukraine is filled with Nazis, believe it or not, Nazis. So, yeah, Russians are great. And I think Putin has been restrained, believe it or not. But if you listen to our warmongers, our neocons, if you choose, look, my basic premise, M. Casey, if you choose to listen to the mainstream media in the United States of America, which is controlled by Wall Street, and the 6 or 7 outlets all say the same things, you're going to be stripped of your wealth. I'm indifferent to whether you agree with my political or views or my assessments. What I do want to get across to you, if you're listening to the media in the United States, you're going to be stripped of your wealth. Stop fantasizing. Well, I don't think I'm fantasizing, and but oil. There's probably two aspects. It's hard to predict oil. There's one unknown out of right field, and that is, and I want to. There's a book about it. I forgot the title. I want to read it. But there are predictions that we're going to have a population collapse in the world by 2050. If that happens, everything I'm saying is out the door. But assuming we keep reasonably stable population growth or so, demand for oil is exploding in countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, China, the Middle East, even Russia. And we haven't cut back on our demand for oil, nor has Canada. Mexico's demand is increasing. And we're not drilling. There's a natural decline in the production of any oil well or oil field. And the world probably, I mean, it's debatable. It's all theory. I can't remember the number. I think it was, now I'm trying to test my memory. It's been a while since I read all these books. But I think the world had 2 trillion barrels of oil as its endowment. Might be double that. And we've already consumed 1 trillion of it. We've already consumed the easy oil. From now on, on an energy in, energy out basis, it's going to be tough to find oil. There will always be a lot of oil in the ground, always. But, and it's not just dollars. It's not, I mean, the shale boom, the shale revolution in the United States was supported by just a flood of cheap dollars from Wall Street, because it's fees, and it's income, and they can take more fees. But I think there was a lot of hype in the horizontal tight sands drilling and fracking, and because it's like a hamster wheel. The decline curves in most of those wells they produced 85, as much as 85% of the entire reserves you're going to get out of that well in the first 12 to 18 months. So you had to keep drilling. And as long as oil prices stayed up in dollar terms, you could rationalize it with tax benefits and with the sales of oil at higher prices, that returns were going to the Wall Street investors. But oil prices collapsed. The United States became for a while a marginal producer of oil, and oil is priced on the margin. It's the oddest thing. It's a mispriced commodity. But anyway, we've stopped investing in oil, in drilling. We're not replacing our production. There are certain countries that have ramped up, and that's held us okay. But at some point, in my opinion, the decline curves are going to kick in. The ability to, right now, I'm using rough numbers. The world produces 100 million barrels of oil. It's probably a little bit less, could be a little bit more. The decline curves are anywhere between 5 and 8 million barrels of oil a day per year. So that means you have to locate, drill enough oil to find 5 to 8 million barrels a day in additional production. At some point, we're not going to stay ahead of that. Now, of course, people have said that for a long time, and somehow we've always managed. But I think oil prices are going to go much, much higher on a supply and demand issue alone. The other thing that's going to happen is probably, and it looks like it's speeding up, is the percentage of reserves held by central banks and held by others of the world's reserve currency, the United States dollar, already is down, but it's going to decline further. My opinion, and it's hard to understand everything that goes on in the banking system, but when we would issue dollars, when we would print money, when we expanded our debt, a lot of that would end up on central banks and other banks' balance sheets. It becomes part of the reserve currency. And in a debt-based system, increasing reserves, okay, and it's the reserve currency. Well, if that changes, which I think it will, and it's speeding up, and it's not fantasizing, Grant, it is speeding up. The UAE is doing business in local currencies for oil. MBS just met with Putin and shook hands. And Russia's a lot closer to the Saudi royal family than the United States. We are supporting, it doesn't matter what I think or what you think. It's how it's perceived around the world. And we're supporting very unpopular decisions in the Middle East right now. And even countries like Saudi Arabia and Iraq, Iran and Iraq, Saudi and Qatar are coming in, coalescing around a response. And it's not going to be good for the United States. And by the way, I don't think Trump's going to be any better on that issue. So I think the combination of supply and demand panic and the decline in the US dollar is going to put oil prices, I mean, it doesn't have to stop at $200 or $300 a barrel. It could go to $500, $600 a barrel. When? I don't know. I really think the United States banking system, London, New York, Tokyo, we're not going to go down without a fight. And that's why I think you see these wars popping up. It's a way of liquefying our banking system. It sounds horrible to talk in such bold terms, but if you don't see it as banking, I don't know. I don't know how you'd keep from being separated from the purchasing power of your wealth. It's pretty frightening stuff. What we're witnessing is a complete change in the United States' position in the world. Complete. And we're not adapting quickly enough. We're not adapting. We still have the strength. We still have the ideas. We still mostly have goodwill. We have an educated and powerful working force. We have natural resources. But instead, we're leading with our least persuasive argument, which is bombing and war. It's our least persuasive argument. The world's population is moving away from Europe and North America, although in the United States and coming up through the Americas, I think there's a very strong growth in the I don't know what term is popular now, but basically the I don't know what term you're supposed to use, Latinx. I don't want to offend anybody, but there is some growth in the United States population, but the real growth in economic power and the young populations are in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, certain parts of Africa, India. And this is where the future of the economies are in the world. And rather than be stuck in a 1960s, 1950s, 1970s worldview, the United States has to adapt. And I think we will, by the way. I think we will. But it's what I started this out with about how everything is speeding up. I can't believe it. What I thought would take years, decades even, to move in terms of pricing oil in something other than the dollar, it's happening right before our eyes. What I thought would take years to shed the American power over the world is happening in just weeks. And it's frightening. It's frightening. But anyway, all right. What happened? I don't know. You know what, Thon Lee, you got your dividend. It was for free. And if you want to know more about it, just go back. My YouTubes are out there. You can listen to them. The whole point of the dividend was to trap out the system. If you wanted just dilution in shares so you could trade it, wrong stock. Buy MKC. I was invited to Kiev I'm trying to remember the year, but instead my dad took either my brother and sister or just one of them. And I never, so I didn't go. So I've never been to the Ukraine. I'd love to go. I would have loved to have gone. But I've spent a lot of time relative to most people in, I've never been to St. Petersburg, but I've been to Leningrad, and I lived in Moscow, so I have actually some of my favorite memories are from Russia, and I have a interest level in Russia that's probably beyond most people. It's probably not, doesn't make the most sense probably, but Russia suffered greatly in World War II. And in fact, I think World War II was won because of Russia. Obviously, the United States was a key factor as well. But we owe a lot. At the time, it was called the Soviet Union. I think Gorbachev said it best: no one won the Cold War. I think that's a great tragedy. I think if there's a human history, it's going to be looked on as a great tragedy. The destruction of our environment. Have you been to Washington State or South Carolina or the deserts of America, or in the Pacific Ocean, or parts of Africa, or tremendous parts of the Soviet Union just destroyed with nuclear testing and nuclear waste? It's going to be, it's going to have impacts on human population that might as well be forever. Because once radiation gets into our DNA, you may be all right, and the next generation might be all right, but eventually it starts affecting what happens. And but yeah, I haven't been to the Ukraine. The closest I suppose I got, which isn't all that close. I mean, if you count, I don't know if you count Greece and parts of the Mediterranean, but is Czechoslovakia. And I've been to Czechoslovakia. I've never been to the Czech lands or to Slovakia. So a lot of my experience is while the wall was still up. Yeah, MMTLP is long term, but if you get a settlement, as a cash payout from Wall Street, I'm not positive that'll be long term, Susan. It's going to depend on how it's structured. If they're buying your stock from you, then yes, you're in a long term situation. But if it's a payout in return for their failure to settle your trades, I would guess that's not long term. I would guess that's income. We'll have to see. Depends on how they do it. If they're buying your MMTLP and the IRS sees that as a stock transaction, yes, it's long term, but I'm not sure the IRS is going to see that as a, I don't know. It's an, I would say, Susan, it's an open issue. Zelensky's moving to America. Oh. You should take it out of the Moo account. I don't think, Mahmoud, I think from what I've heard from everyone, I would recommend E-Trade. That's where I am. They don't have any restrictions on GTC orders. So that might matter to you. I didn't ask to have my shares of MMTLP sent to AST, but got a letter saying they've been transferred. I think that's great. I mean, I have either 2/3 or 3/4 of my position transferred. It's in shares of NextBridge. But I have my part that's in my IRA still in MMTLP. This isn't my list to do, but I have a list to do that I made, and I'm going to call and see if I can get that transferred to AST. It's probably too late. But to me, Gary, Wall Street had a responsibility to deliver to you shares of NextBridge. So by transferring MMTLP to AST, what they're doing is they're not transferring MMTLP. That's not what they're doing. They're doing what the corporate action called for a year ago. They're giving you one share of NextBridge for each share of MMTLP which you own. They're settling. They're doing what the corporate action called for. I think it's a good thing because then you really own a piece, which I've tried to describe many times. There's risk. There is risk, but I think you're going to own a piece of a successful oil and gas company. Once 165 million seats on the aircraft carrier, on the aircraft passenger jet are taken, MMTLP is worthless. For sure, it's worthless. The only value it will have is the legal obligation to settle that trade. And I think that's a big value. Unless Wall Street wants to just destroy itself, they're going to settle. But anyway, I think it's great. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. The only delay, Gary, in a normal situation, on December 9th, they stopped trading. I can't remember. Was December 8th the last day? That was the record date. And then the settlement date was Monday, the 10th. Possibly that Wednesday. It's so long ago. But normally, Gary, what would have happened? You would have received your NextBridge shares, let's say it was that Wednesday, the settlement, and that's what would have happened. Your MMTLP would have become private shares of NextBridge. The only unknown, and we can't know now, is what appears to have been at least 500 million shares of counterfeit shares were created. What if FINRA hadn't stopped trading And on that Friday and Monday, so I guess close of business Monday was the settlement. Those 2 days, what if the criminals had to buy back shares? What if the prime brokers and the broker dealers said, uh-oh, we better cover our positions? You could have had a short squeeze. But Gary, once that's gone, that's gone. There's no recreating that. There are people on the Twitter spaces trying to get you to be convinced that getting 2 days of trading is what you want. That is just helping the criminals. It's just helping the criminals. So I think owning the shares is much better than owning MMTLP. If there's a cash dividend of some kind or a cash settlement outside of just the share value, in other words, a cash settlement for pain and suffering, I think everybody will get it, whether you're in NextBridge or sitting still with MMTLP. So I wouldn't complain. I'd be very thankful, Gary. They did it without charging you too. Other people are having to pay $300 in a position. So I think it's great. Grant, I that's just not true. And I'll talk about Russia and the Soviet Union all I want to. It's possible that technically and really Putin's army went into Russian parts of the Ukraine. But let me ask you, Grant, we are the ones that broke our assurances that NATO would not move eastward. That means missiles, military. I don't know what you would do if, I don't know where you live, but I don't know what you would do if Manitoba suddenly accepted missiles from North Korea. So I don't claim to know everything. But Grant, if your response is that the Ukraine is a peaceful people and that 500 million people were killed in the Ukraine solely by Putin, it's not plausible. And it's 500, sorry, because we talk about stocks, it's 500,000 people have been killed in the Ukraine. 500,000. They're bringing women, even pregnant women, old men, in to fight, and Russia has won that war. And Grant, the next step that apparently the guy that I forgot his name right now that runs the Department of Defense, next thing is we might put troops on the ground in the Ukraine. Is that what you want? I don't think so. But I'm not a military expert. I'm not even a geopolitical strategic expert. But and when the emotionalism and the groundswell of we support Ukraine went through, a lot of my father's friends, a lot of people I know supported Ukraine. But I'm telling you, Grant, you can look it up. You can, if you want to. Ukraine is where there are a lot of Nazis. But that's what we support because we are a threat to Russia. Why do we need to go to war with Russia? Why don't we cooperate with Russia economically? Russia's not a threat to us. It will be now economically, Grant. And so we're going to stubbornly cling to Cold War ways of thinking rather than the New World. But Grant, I'm not going to stop talking about Russia. If you have something to tell me that you understand about Russia and you can teach me something, I'd love to hear it. But you've made two comments to me. One that I'm fantasizing and that I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I haven't heard anything you have to say about Russia. Wow, Nunya. Wow, Nunya. You don't know, so stop it. Ukraine is Nazis. What about Trump? Do you believe he's a Nazi too? No, I don't. I don't believe Trump is a Nazi. He just made a very forceful speech supporting Israel and anti-Hamas. And I think if Trump comes into office, he will fully support the actions that are currently underway in Gaza. Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter is Jewish, and his son-in-law is Jewish. So no, I don't think he's a Nazi. What does visiting the Ukraine have to do with talking about it? Have you lived in Moscow? Have you spent time in Prague? Have you traveled Europe? Have you traveled the Middle East? I don't see why going to the Ukraine, where the Democratic Party launders money in a volume you can't believe. I don't know why visiting it. I've never been to the moon, but I can talk to you about the moon landings. Oh, well, then tell me about it, Grant. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I'd love to hear it. I'm not idiot enough to believe that my point of view is 100% right. I'm totally open to hearing why I'm wrong. If it's information, not just, no, you don't know what you're talking about. A lot of sex trafficking in the Ukraine. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. That's a worldwide problem. And it happens in the United States too, but that's a terrible thing. I think there's a lot of trouble in Russia too along those lines. And that makes me sick to my stomach. Children should not ever, no human being, but children especially, should not be abused. Trump will stop the war with oil, maybe. One thing's interesting about Trump. He stated that he does not want killing. He said when he's in office, he'll stop the war. And it used to be called the Ukraine. Now everyone says Ukraine. Instead of Kiev, they say Kiev because they're all in. But Ukraine means the borderlands. And that was the whole point of the Ukraine, was to give a buffer to Muscovy. Is Doge up in price? I didn't say anything about China. It's interesting what's going on in China because I think China's banking system and their investment market is overstretched, and there's room for trouble there. But China's been making investments, including, they call it what, ring road or ring belt or belt road or something. They've been making investments in resources throughout Africa, even in the Middle East, in South America, and they don't have human rights at the top of their issues, or women's rights, or how you run your country. But on the other hand, I'm not sure that people always like dealing with the Chinese. They'd rather deal with us, I think, in many places. But China, in particular, has been mining for and buying gold. And I think when the new system, whatever it is, comes, China's going to be at the table. And China might surprise you. They may have more gold than we do. We're never going to admit to having less gold than what's in Fort Knox. In my opinion, we won't let anybody see whether it's there or not. But I think China will be one of the big boys, big girls, big countries at the table when the new monetary system is duked out. The so-called BRICS countries, China is probably, because of its gold and its manufacturing, its economy is probably the biggest country at that table. Russia, Saudi, maybe a couple of the other Middle Eastern countries, maybe India, I don't know. You get to Brazil, I don't know. Those would be the top countries in a new currency model. But China has a population problem, and it's getting older like ours, and water, energy. They have some issues too, but they just signed these great deals with Russia, and there's pipelines there. So I think the future's bright for China and for India and Southeast Asia and Russia and the Middle East. It'll be okay for us. Sure. How many Ukrainians died in World War II? It's not a number I have on the top of my head. Do you know how many Soviets died in World War II? That's a big number. And it's a broad range. It's a broad range because no one knows the final number. Do you know how many Jews were killed in World War II? Massive. But what's less spoken about is the 2 million gypsies, Catholics, and others that were killed. And, the dying in a war zone, the dying is indiscriminate, and it's awful. But I don't know, Grant, what relevance is how many Ukrainians died in World War II when many of them were Nazis, by the way, at the time. I don't know what that has to do with U.S. policy breaking our word about NATO. And I don't remember the name of the agreement, but all we had to do was agree to keep NATO neutral, and we wouldn't have this war. And we would be buying Zhigulis and Volgas and aircraft carriers from Aeroflot and Russian oil. Why would that be bad? Why is it bad to do business and be on friendly terms with the Russians? Do you know, Grant, that the Orthodox Church has come back in Russia? Do you know they actually, under Putin, believe in God? Read statistics. Grant, I have no idea how many Ukrainians died in World War II. Why does that change the thrust of the argument I was making? And I don't claim to be an accept or an expert. You are the biggest expert of Africa? You watch TV? Well, why? Give me one reason why Africa hasn't developed as economically or hasn't had the success developing economically as Europe. Just one reason. Oh, you watch TV. Yeah, MMTLP is a dividend placeholder. It's an admission. It's an admission now. Once they fill up the 165 million seats, the remaining MMTLP placeholders, as you call them, will be an admission of counterfeited shares. Yeah, that would have been fun. That would have been a lot of fun. That's one of the reasons I bought it, is I wanted to see what could happen. And you're right, that would have been something to witness. Is it realistic? Based on what I'm hearing, I think a settlement is realistic, but I would not assume that it's going to happen this year. I wouldn't necessarily assume that it will happen early in next year. And once you're into next year, why do it early? You might as well take your time from a tax standpoint, from a hit on earnings standpoint. You might as well take all year to do it. So no, I don't think a settlement soon is very realistic, but it could happen. It could. Nunya, the thing that works in your favor, and I own it too, is that Wall Street does not want you, journalists such as they are, the world, people who watch TV, to know that there's a billion shares that were counterfeited by, in my opinion, U.S. banks and, well, not the banks, the hedge funds and offshore hedge funds. They don't want you to know that. So the more that's about to be exposed, they'll scramble to settle up. But I don't see it happening quickly, because I think there's hundreds of lawyers involved and it won't move quickly. To me, the biggest issue, other than price, which is a massive issue, do they come at us piecemeal? $12, $25? $75, $150? Or do they come with one big global price that's high enough to entice everyone to agree? That's one issue. The other issue is, how do you get every class involved to sign a release? How do you get everyone to sign a release? I don't know. I don't know. Well, I do hear, and I would say that I hear a lot of rumors. So where there's smoke, there's fire. And, fingers crossed, something will happen soon. But I just wouldn't count on it. Blue 5, that's really interesting. I want to read, that's a book, isn't it? More than just a theory. I'd like to read it, and that's on my list somewhere. A war every 80 to 100 years. I didn't know it's called the fourth turning, but in history that happens, and the theory, it's just a broad theory. As people who died in World War I have left the stage, and they can't remind us, if Grant has read Guns of August by Barbara Tuchman, I have, the missteps and the mistakes made with hubris and stepping in, and the same kind of arrogance that we're showing in the Middle East, Ukraine, and now perhaps over Taiwan. All it takes is one ratcheting up, one death, and then youth comes in ready to war, rather than jaw, and it starts. And, Stephen Cohen, I've mentioned before, I have his book, I guess it's downstairs. I think it's called War with Russia, ? Or something like that. But Stephen Cohen, a professor married to Christina van der Heuvel of The Nation, he, for years, and he lived in Moscow for years too. And Grant, he is an expert, and I followed his lectures and read. This is going to close out on us soon. I'll try to be quick. Anyway, he thinks we're this close to World War III as we've ever been, and I agree with that. And it's because people who remember the horror of what happened are all dead. There's very few left in World War II, and we're still believing the crap that the military-industrial complex is telling us. There's no winners in a nuclear war. Any Nazis in the United States? I don't know. You obviously know. I think there's a shortage of white supremacists in the United States, such that many of the demonstrations and the scenes you see are fake. But I think, of course, there's a residual of hatred, pygmy thinking, narrow-mindedness, and evil people in any country. But no, I don't think, in our rocket and military systems, maybe this is where Werner von Braun came in. But no, I don't particularly think there's many Nazis in the United States. Ukraine supports Israel as well. Well, maybe Israel and the Ukraine are two places where we're sending a lot of money. Ukraine is not part of Ukraine. Ukraine is not part of Ukraine. Ukraine is not part of Ukraine. Ukraine is not part of NATO, maybe you're saying? Maybe that's what you meant. Well, it'll be interesting. Turkey's part of NATO, and he's being really tough drums of war. Look, guys, I'm not trying to pick sides. I'm not trying to be moralistic. I know what I think and I know how I feel about some things. What I'm trying to say is that we are at risk of a major conflagration. And I don't think the United States it's going to come out pretty for our way of life. That's what I'm saying. And if you want to just believe what you see Rachel Maddow tell you, she makes $30,000 each time she hawks some crap, and she should know better. She's a smart person. Yeah, thank you, MJ118. Wow, you speak 5 languages? I don't. I just speak English. I'm jealous of you. To be able to think and speak, that's awesome. I admire you immensely. I wish I could speak more than one. I've studied, but I have no facility for language. Yeah, I'm on 4%, and where do you get your information about Ukraine? I'll try to give you, Grant. I usually try to put into the record things I say, so I'll try to give you some of that. But I'm running out of batteries, so I can't do it here. It's corrupt. Who's they? Who's they? Grant. Who's they, Grant? I make my own judgment about Trump, and I've listened to his speeches so many times. Who's they? There's a lot of things they say about Trump I don't believe at all. But I'm capable of making my own determination about human beings, I think. No human being is perfect. Is it Jung that said that we have in our subconscious this? I don't know. But I know I'm not perfect. And it disappoints me all the time. St. Petersburg for 9 months. Wow. I'd love to go back. I had a Russian girlfriend, and she invited me to Moscow, and like an idiot, I didn't go. I would have loved, just like Grant says, I would have loved to go with someone I trusted who spoke the language fluently and English brilliantly, and just got immersed in it. I would have loved that. Yeah, I agree with you, Nunya. One of my grandparents is from Lithuania. It's different. U.S. president is corrupt as well. Which one? Which one? I think, oddly, the presidents that showed the least corruption were before most people were born, like Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, least corrupt. I don't think Nixon was corrupt, by the way, and I wasn't a fan of his. Reagan, I don't think he was corrupt, but he did make some money after he got out. I'm not sure that George H.W., I'd be 50-50 on that. But everyone since, except for Trump, I think is corrupt or corruptible. According to some information, Barack Obama is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not one source said he may be a billionaire. I don't think he is. No, I didn't say that all Americans are Nazis. Where do you get that from, Grant? There's no logic? I agree with you. You don't seem very logical. Oh, the ones that talk badly about Trump are the ones that support Ukraine. Yeah, it does seem to be that way. I agree with that. But I remember America being a country where you could read news and then make your own assessment. Now the news tells you what you want, what you should think. After reading through the recent FINRA response, all right, I'll look that up. I got to go quickly. I've got 3% left. The charger's in the other room because I bought a new phone that had a Thunderbolt instead of, anyway. I agree. There you go, Nunya. That's exactly what I'm saying. David, you have it. Silver is the answer. Silver is the answer. Putin is a big believer in God. I agree with you. 100% I agree with you. And it's something, he is putting churches back where Stalin destroyed the churches. I agree with you. Well, Nunya, I'll tell you the story how I was chased through Moscow by thugs, KGB thugs. That'd be fun. We'll sit down and talk about it. Putin didn't invade Ukraine because of NATO. He invaded more countries. He wants to restore all borders. He's been angry at Gorbachev. Maybe. I think there are parts like the Crimea, parts of Russia which were outside of Russia. And when you go there, and I haven't been to Crimea before that, everyone speaks Russian and there's more. But what I think might be going on is they need a warm water port. They need a warm water port. And that may be the case. I've already explained that I think they need a buffer too. Africa is corrupt. The people are. But Grant, I've only got 3% left. One of the things Africa does not have, other than the Nile, is long flowing rivers that go deep into the continent so that you can have commerce flow from deep in the continent out to sea. Europe has that, Russia has that, the United States has that, China has that. Africa doesn't have that. And it's one of the problems that they have. Wow, it's just horrible. It's horrible, Dunya. It's horrible. You're adding the Jews that were killed by the Soviets too, at Babi Yar and elsewhere in Poland. It's just horrible. I mean, it makes you want to, if you really think about it, it makes you want to vomit. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. You were born in Lithuania? Wow. My grandfather is Lithuanian. Godolowski or something like that. Yeah, government officials are corrupt. I think Biden is corrupt. I think his son is corrupt. And I remember growing up, I don't know how old you are, but I remember that Biden was touted as one of the most honest senators because he was the poorest. He took Amtrak. She married, I would like to see her. She married a Mormon. She had a beautiful last name, and now her last name is Brown. But she's a good person, very good person. Good kid. Nunya, you might have the last words. Yes, I meant NATO, and there's no favorable outcome for the United States if we go to war with Russia. Surely no one under the age of 20 could believe that war is in our best interest. Could you imagine our young people having to buy rations? Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Babi Yar and all that. But anyway, Nunya, I'm gonna. This is all gonna shut down against my will, and I got 2% left. But Nunya, my friend from Germany, who is German and Spanish, lives in London, just got married. She told me something that gives me massive hope. Massive hope. She said because of the internet, because of the internet, young people will refuse to go to war. And that gives me so much hope. That gives me so much hope. So much hope. So much hope. Okay, I don't know, Vincent. I'd give you an answer to that, but I don't know what it means. Anyway, I've got to sign off because I've got 2% is going to go to 1%. So I want to wish everyone peace, love, and happiness. Oh, I'd love to be in Bangkok, Grant. I've been to Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, briefly in Hong Kong, but I'd love to go to Thailand. I'd love to go to India. But I wish everybody peace. I wish the world peace. I wish that these horrible atrocities weren't happening all over the place. So and I continue to say prayers for Jenny L. And I hope we can get through all of this together so each of you can be independently financially stable, and if not wealthy, but you can get through to the other side so that you can be strong, your families and your friends. Anyway, cheers. Well, it's 1% left, so I'm going to end it. We'll catch you Monday, if not sooner.